Welcome to another Ask Kimberly Oaster, where you send in questions about everyday life, and I dig into the Bible to see what truth it has for us. Today's question is, what does the Bible say about remarrying after divorce? I know this is a hot question, a hot topic, but let's just stick with what the Bible says, okay? First things first, if you have already divorced and remarried, this really isn't going to apply to you, because this is for people who have not yet or will contemplate divorcing and remarrying, okay? There is more sin in having divorced and remarried and then divorcing again, trying to make things right. That doesn't make anything right. If you are married, you need to stay married and you need to work to be married. You need to work to reconcile if you have been divorced. It's really important, even if you've been separated for a long time or divorced for a long time, if you can reconcile and make that marriage happen again, that is going to be the next best thing to having never been divorced, okay? So we'll start there. Jesus tells us that the reason that the Old Testament law was given for a divorce is that men had hardened hearts. So it was a way of God saying, hey, I'm going to protect the women. And in the New Testament, it actually tells us that divorce happened when there should have been a protection of the one who was loved, who should have been loved. Now, divorce is allowed because of, it's not adultery. Adultery is one of the words, but the root Greek word that we see in the New Testament is our root word for pornography. It's anything sexually impure. And that is an allowed reason for divorce and for remarriage. And that doesn't just have to be adultery with one partner or the other sleeping with someone else. It also applies to anything that is sexually impure. It could have to do with someone participating in pornography, participating in sexual acts with other people, participating in sexual acts with children. All of those things fall under the one broad category. We don't need to, pick hairs over that one. Let's just say we all know what it means, okay? Now, the other reason for divorce is if you're married to someone, whether or not you were married when you were a believer and they're a non-believer, that's one case, or you were both non-believers and then you became a believer. If the non-believer wants to leave, they are free to leave. But in that case, the Bible doesn't say anything about remarrying. It just says do everything to stay married if you're married to a non-believer. Reconciliation is a huge thing. We have to remember that God is in the business of bringing things back together, of restoring them. Like if you have an old house or an old piece of furniture and it's falling apart and it doesn't look good, and today this is a really hip and fun thing to do. You take that house and you work on it and you make it a beautiful thing. Same thing with marriage. We're better off to always work to reconcile our marriages. Now, if you are in an abusive marriage where you are being hit or hurt, or your children are being hurt, you need to leave immediately. That doesn't mean that you should run out and get a divorce. The best thing is always going to be if the spouse who is being the abuser can get help, and after a matter of time, it's just not going to be months, it's probably going to be years, if you can reconcile. That's what you want to work toward biblically the best. God says when we marry, we become one flesh. And what He has put together, because He's the one that makes us one flesh, no person should tear that apart. That doesn't just mean the husband or the wife. It could mean someone else or someone that comes in and tries to have an affair with you. It could be any person that distracts you from your marriage. So, bottom line, remarrying, you're free to remarry if you have been divorced from something that was a sexual impurity. Of course, if you were widowed or you're a widower, you're free to remarry. That has nothing to do with divorce. If you are already divorced, you're not going to get a divorce to try to make things right in marriage. That's not how it works. And if you are in a marriage that's difficult and in a hard season, studies have shown conclusively, if you can bear it out for 3 years, almost all the time, both people are happy again. So stick with it. Work on your marriage. If you need some more marriage resources, let me know. I'd be happy to help you. Just remember, in the end, life is better with Jesus, and that's because we set our own needs aside and we say we want to follow what is best. The best is what God shows us. in doing things with love. So go out, work on your marriage, and until next time, I'll see ya.